and we're live on YouTube, and then there'll be a little delay. Oh, you know
for
what?
Instagram.
I closed out Instagram. We're just going on YouTube tonight. All right. Hello, YouTube. I don't think I did this right yet again. I apologize. Maybe I can bring it back up. It's clicked.
For
What's
Instagram.
saying? Yeah.
I'll see if I can see you live.
Let me see if I can see it. Maybe I can redo it.
Yeah, it doesn't show you live on Instagram.
No. I think I messed it up, which is normal for me. Yeah, it's want me to copy a new stream key, and I'm not going to do that. So, sorry, Instagram. We'll get you next time. Maybe we'll have a few folks come in on YouTube. So,
yeah, if not, they can watch it after.
Yeah, right. So what's going on, man? How you been?
Pretty good. Not much. Not a whole lot.
I enjoyed talking with hey, there's Frank. What's up, Frank? I enjoyed talking with Red the other night. That was fun.
Yeah, that was entertaining. I don't know what I was expecting, but what we got wasn't what I was expecting, if that makes sense.
Right. No, just messing around. But, you know, I think from his perspective, it probably doesn't matter too much what he posts. I'm sure some stuff gets better traction than others, but when you got that many people, he's probably just got to, consistently throw stuff up there.
Yeah. Well, and then, something different, like what we did on there from, normal fishing content probably does get pretty good traction. So,
yeah.
But yeah, his channel's blown up because I think when we were in Georgia and I looked at his stuff, he was only at like 50, 60,000 on YouTube.
Where is he now?
90, almost 92.
Oh wow, great.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, he's been blowing up. I feel like it's one of those things you kind of have to like work really hard to get up to the hump, and once you get over the hump, it kind of just accelerates from there.
Yeah, I don't think I'm over the hump yet.
No. But I think it takes a long time. Like that's one of those things it just takes forever to get that kind of traction, and then it just exponentially grows from there. It seems like every YouTuber that really grows their channel, that's how it happens. It starts off slow and builds slow for a long time, and then all of a sudden it just takes off and never goes back.
So. Yeah. What's up, Mike? Welcome in, my friend. Again, we got some of the usual suspects. Oh, we got 5 in here. That's pretty good for just a random YouTube live. I appreciate you guys. Throw some comments in there, man. What do you guys want to talk about? We don't really have anything planned. We can talk pond management. We can talk fishing. We can talk whatever you want to talk about. I came across I wish I could figure out a way to throw pictures up here. I wonder if there's a way I could learn that, if there's a way to do that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, it would make it.
I'm sure there is like a screen share thing instead of
it would.
Yeah, it might replace your image, but I'm not sure.
That'd be okay.
Yeah, and then you could switch it back and forth from like a screen share to.
Yeah, I've seen Debo do it, but I don't know if he uses StreamYard or not.
Yeah, I wonder if Alex has ever done it because he uses StreamYard at least sometimes.
Yeah, I have to ask him. I don't know.
So anyway. I've seen a lot of your posts lately have been about a sunfish pond or a bluegill pond. So I was going to ask you about that. What's the background information on that one?
Well, it was interesting because one of the guys, he's made a few comments, and I can't even call his name. I'm sorry. There's so many people there. It's hard to remember names at this point, But he's got a new pond that he built in Georgia and stocked it. And he's been asking questions and whatnot. But he has a consultant. He just didn't make me aware of that. And his name is John Key. And John is probably 10 years older than me, I guess, and been doing this longer than I have along the coast. So I sent John a message, or John sent me a message, and letting me know that it was cool to see some of his fish, on the page, and that he was real nice, you know. Said it was a real inspiring page, and he sent his clients there all the time to help them learn, you know. And I said, well, I had no idea that, you know, those were your fish. So, you know, let's post that up and let's get you on here and get you talking about it, you know.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Guy's got, you know, probably 40, 50 years experience. It's definitely a guy I need to talk to.
He's Bullfrog Pond Management, right? I thought,
you know, I'm not sure. I think there was been some sales of Bullfrog, and I've been out of it for long enough now that I don't really know.
okay, yeah, because I remember him from the pond management groups, I feel like, on Facebook.
Yeah.
And then I want to say Bullfrog Pond Management is who what he owns or works for, or one of those things.
Okay.
I didn't realize, yeah. I didn't know
Yeah.
how long I don't know him very well, but I've spoken to him through Facebook comments in those pond
Yeah.
management groups a few times and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think he follows our page. I've seen him like some of our stuff before, but I don't
Yeah.
know him personally. So
I'd like to see a more collaborative effort with the scientists. You know, I'm certainly going to be open, you know, with my stuff, but there's just too few of us and too much misinformation.
oh yeah,
To be
I know,
divided.
it's kind of sad. If you look at just any random Facebook post with someone holding bass and you just go to the comment sections, it's brutal how there's like one out of every 1,000 has common sense and the rest of them are just completely misinformation, and they're just
Yeah.
repeating something else they heard from somewhere else. And
Yeah.
they'll argue about it and they have no idea what they're arguing, but they'll argue it. And it's
Oh, they
like,
will.
geez.
They absolutely will. I had a guy doing that to me the other day. There's the Trophy Ops page. Have you seen that guy? He puts
No.
big fish pictures up, or videos up. And he put a video of a guy, and it was a joke, you know, he boat flipped the fish and he did a little dance, you know, and he was just goofing off and he didn't mean anything by it. And I don't really have a problem with people if, you know, he's not being malicious, you know what I'm saying? Like, to the fish, or he's just unaware of proper fish handling techniques, right? So
Right.
again, use that as a learning experience. And I just made a comment in there, like, you know, slime coat, you know, the routine, all the same stuff. And of course, the guy from who actually made the post thanked me, and you know, most people are unaware of that. But you bring in a couple trolls with a comment like that, you know what I mean? And this one particular guy was brutal. Just like, couldn't be more offensive. You know, just took the stance of, I'm going to be cruel to fish just because it's going to make you mad, you know, or at least just talk about being cruel to fish anyway.
Right.
So I just engaged with him and really just ran right through his mouthpiece. It was so bad that he didn't even really realize how bad he was making himself look, I don't think, you know. But at this point, if guys are going to be like that, I'm going to lay them out, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's probably what needs to happen.
Yeah. I mean, the fastest way to change all this is to make it a social stigma, you know, to make it like, you know, like they're doing right now. It's kind of that. It's a social thing. It's like all these guys are boat flipping because they think it's cool, because it thinks it's whatever. I don't care what you do with it. You're not doing it at one of my lakes, you know. It's just not happening. I don't want to see fish that somebody who's spent this much money and this much effort and time to grow flopping around on the deck of a boat.
Yeah, on dry carpet.
Not happening. You will be escorted out. It costs too much money. It's too much effort, too much time, too much education, and complete disrespect, and quite frankly, animal cruelty.
Yeah, but people don't think about it that way because it's fish.
Exactly. But once you understand it, you should get it. You know, if you want to return, the whole idea of catch and release is to return the bass back to in a condition in which it can grow. And if you're boat flipping them, you're not doing that. You're turning them back in a condition in which they can get a nice bacterial infection.
Yeah.
And that's not growing.
in some lakes probably isn't the worst thing because you're thinning the herd a little bit. But when you're doing it to the only big bass that are in that lake, then you have a problem.
Correct. And that's the problem, that if you're consistently mishandling the fish, but you're consistently throwing back the 1-pounders and mishandling the 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s, guess what's going to happen to the fish population?
Yep. Yeah, you're going to take the top off of it.
Yeah, after 40 years, because it's been the exact same management strategy for 40 years.
When I don't think, I mean, I don't blame people because I didn't know any better until I went to school and learned about it. But I don't think people realize that pretty much the only line of defense a fish has is the slime coat. Once that's gone, they're pretty much going to die. And if you've ever had fish in an aquarium, you know that to be true. Once they get, that slime coat gets messed up, they're stressed and it sloughs off or whatever. You mishandle them, you drop them on your carpet and they're flopping around on the floor, and you put them back. Once that slime coat's off, if you don't really doctor them up and have some really nice water quality and monitor them, they're pretty much dead, and they're not going to get really beautiful water quality, ideal conditions and be pampered when they're in a pond like that. So, or a lake, so it won't be good, especially the hotter it is, later in the summer, you might as well they're pretty much dead at that point.
Yeah, there's that. But also I think, and I've seen a couple studies done too about it. Taking the slime coat off in the winter, it won't regenerate.
Oh yeah, because the metabolism's not moving fast enough.
Yeah, so you just expose that fish's tissue to the winter bacteria for 3, 4, 5 months, however long you have winter.
Yeah, that's where you get a lot of it. They call it it's saprolegnia. They call it winter fungus or whatever, and it looks really nasty. It's like I don't even know how to explain it. It's like a giant fuzzy growth on the side of your fish. They see it a lot in the fall, in the winter, and early spring. But it's probably in ponds. Most of it probably comes from mishandling fish, dragging them up on the bank, and then putting them back. Yeah. And then the slime coat's not regenerating.
Yeah. And I don't know what else to do, but just keep talking about this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think a lot of people genuinely don't know. I mean, like I said, I can't blame them. I didn't know until I went to school. So,
absolutely. Absolutely. And if I have a conversation with somebody who didn't know it, like I said, the guy does the dance, he makes a cute video, goes viral, nice fish, whatever. But you say to him, hey man, that's really not the best way to handle it, and for these reasons. And he's like, oh my God, I didn't know, I'm never going to do that again. That's one conversation. I don't have a problem with that. These other clowns that are just being stubborn because everybody's doing it. No, there needs to be some shaming language involved. I mean, basically, this is why we can't have nice things. They don't listen,
and that's throwing it around.
Yeah, that's the part that I don't get, because when I can remember when I was 18 and I didn't know there was a fisheries. I didn't know you can major in fish, and I saw a biologist talk about it, fish biologist talk about it, and I was like, I've got to major in something. I'm majoring in that, and I went and studied fish. And when I got to Georgia, I had to transfer. I was at Valdosta. I had to transfer to Georgia. And man, I thought in the back of my head going in there, I've been fishing a long time, so I'll have an advantage. None, zero. Probably at a disadvantage, because I was thinking that in my head.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, more of a disadvantage because you kind of come in with a bias of what you think and then you start hearing about stuff and you're like, oh, that doesn't really line up with what I thought I knew. Right. So you have to really make yourself be open-minded and receptive to that information. And some people aren't. Some people will go to school through a wildlife and fisheries program and they'll miss a few pieces that they thought they knew when they're going in. So,
yeah. And I don't know. So I'm familiar with the problems that they're having. I guess I can see this where they're coming from, but at the same time, I have the hardest time with, like, once I figured out I could major in fish, I was like, all right, where are the fish books at? Where are the fish labs at? Where can I go learn about this?
Yeah, I was the same way, because I went to school and I just thought you get a degree in wildlife and fisheries and you have to become a game warden. I thought that was kind of like the only path forward. And then when you actually go, you're like, man, I can just do fisheries and I don't have to do the law enforcement side of it. I can go do state biology or whatever. And they don't really teach you about the private sector that much when you're in school, but you meet people and then you learn about that one. You're like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And that was definitely a good decision.
Yeah. I'm glad it's working out for you, because that was a risky move that you made, leaving a state position like that. That's a cush job, dude.
Yeah, but I didn't like being in an office every day. It drove
Yeah.
me insane. I was like, I went to school to learn about fish, to
To
go
be in the
be
field.
outside and mess with fish, not to be in an office. And I'm not discrediting the job. Like, it's a good job to have. It had a good starting salary if that's what you want to do, but it wasn't what I wanted to do.
Right. No, I
So
get
I
it.
was like,
I'd have been just like you. I would have been just like you. I was just like you. I did the same thing. I didn't quit it. I didn't quit a job though. I just went right to work.
yeah. Well,
I was lucky. I was real lucky.
yeah, I mean, I would say I was too, because I got out sooner than later and had a good opportunity, and now we're running with it, and it's been absolutely insane
That's good, man.
in a very short period of time. So
Excellent. Excellent. All right, let's see. I'm going to scroll through the comments here. We got Midwest. What's up, Midwest? Welcome in. Josh, what are we talking about on the side of the fish? Bacterial infections. Generally, just a general. You remove the slime coat. Invasives come into the fish's skin. You get funky looking tan and white ick looking growths that make them sick, slow their growth down, change, really change the way that they have to interact with the environment. They're interacting in a sick way instead of a healthy way. That's not good. And the whole idea of catch and release is to return the fish so it grows. And that's not doing it. That's killing them. That's getting them to 3 or 4 or 5 pounds and killing them. What's up? All right, that was Midwest again. Ponds and lakes have been frozen. Man, you ever been around frozen water much?
no, thank goodness. I live in Texas. It's like 70 degrees today. It's like 40 in the morning, so it's kind of cold.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the most we get is like maybe half an inch of ice across the surface, and then within a couple of days it's gone. So no, I'm not sad about it either, to be honest. I don't like the cold.
I stood on a pond in Georgia once.
Yeah, I hope I never have to do
that.
that.
I stepped off like a foot over there and stepped right back on the dirt just to say that I did it.
Yeah,
but it was thick. It was probably.
I mean, we'll probably have that kind of ice every 10 years, maybe. But we pretty much have a 10-month growing season where I'm at in Texas.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't suck. That's kind of like here. I mean, that you just described the weather we had in Florida today. 40 to 68, kind of right in that range. And tomorrow it'll be 50 to 70. It's like right in there.
Yeah, same here. And so we pretty much only have part of January and February that are cold, and then we're back to warm weather again. So that's why we can grow fish so much faster down here, because
oh god, yeah,
they have a whole year pretty much.
Yeah.
And even cold is not that cold. You're talking your highs are in the 40s. I mean,
how long are you below 60? Couple, 3 months?
Probably a month, maybe. But it's not consistent. It's like 2 weeks in a row below 60. You might dip down real cold, and then it'll come back up to the 50s, 60s, and then it'll go back down. So it doesn't ever really get cold. I would say most of the time our water temps probably stay above the 40s.
Are y'all hard in the pre-spawn right now, like us?
Yeah. They're starting to get weight on. They were starting to fill out in October, really. October, November.
Yeah, they're
probably more so November.
Yeah. I've seen some big fish. Somebody caught a 13 behind the house the other day.
Dang.
Yeah, not me.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Hey, at least you go fishing. I haven't been fishing, and I don't think in like a year or more.
I've been slack this year, dude. I really need to get off my butt and get out there and work. And actually, hearing 13 pounds coming out of the 250 yards down behind the house here is good motivation for me to get off my butt.
Yeah, that's close. You don't even have to go far.
No, I could literally just go down the hill. And I do fish a little bit, but I mean, I'm just not fishing hard. I'm not fishing the way I need to be fishing,
Yeah, to catch big fish.
13, yeah. I'm kind of like the other day we went for crappie and, just messing around, jacking around with different people and not doing it. I got to get motivated and go. And it's perfect time right now.
Yeah, especially with the kind of weather that me and you have, not Midwest who said their low was 13.
Yeah, no, that's not good.
No, they have what? Probably I guess probably like an 8-month growing season, maybe a little shorter.
Yeah, I don't know. And again, I think it's going to depend. Well, with the way the climates change and warmer temperatures, they might have warmer years some years than others. I know Georgia was that way real bad. Like sometimes you get a cold snap that shut down the fall real early, and then other
Yeah.
times fall all the way till Christmas almost.
Yeah. Well, that's here. Christmas was like 74.
Yeah.
So it's not cold.
Let's see. Trout anglers are sensitive to invasive species and water quality issues like turbidity. Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw him saying people that want to fish and handle fish properly should pay attention to trout anglers and how they handle trout.
Yeah, that would help. There's a thought. Would you think about doing some trout in the pond this year? I thought about it. I think we could have got away with some rainbows in there this year.
Oh, in Clint's?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to do some in some of the ones that we have starting up this coming year, but we got to wait a little bit. We got to get some size on those fish first. They don't have most of the ones I'm thinking of where those guys are going to want to do it. They don't have bass yet, so they'll be getting theirs in June.
Yeah, don't do that, and don't. I've made this mistake. Like this year or next year is fine, with the trout, but you want some 3-pound fish,
Yeah, I was going to go after year 2, like the second growing season.
Yeah, exactly. Wherever they are after the second growing season, you're good to go. But if you put them in there, have you been watching? I don't really watch the Bama Bass dude, but he did.
No, I haven't. I have a bunch of clients that watch him. They always ask me questions about. They're like, "Hey, did you see this video?" I'm like, "No, what do you do? Tell me." And they're like, "Well, I don't know. Should I do that?" And I'm like, "Maybe not."
No, he's overstocking. He overstocked it initially, but he put his trout in too early, and then they jammed up his threadfin, and they're predatory. And I didn't really agree with the time of year he stocked them. I like it. It depends on the size you're putting them in, and then the time of year, and then the weather and everything. But it can be tricky. Like, I tell people you need to be prepared because threadfin shad are warm water fish. They don't do well if it gets cold. So if it gets real cold for a couple days, and you got trout in there, they're fired up, and the threadfins are over there like,
Yes, no, they're not.
They get smoked.
Yeah, well, here we only have a very short window where trout are even going to live anyway. So,
yeah,
I still don't know where I'm at if you could even stock them. And I mean, they would probably survive, but I don't know if they do well. The water is not that cold yet.
Yeah, if it's not below 68, they're not. And even at 65, they're not real happy. They're
I mean, Texas Parks and Wildlife is spreading them around right now, but those fish get caught out of the ponds they get put in so fast that I don't know if it matters.
Right. That was a funny conversation with a guy. Somebody was talking about stocking trout in a pond, and I think it was on Facebook.
Probably.
And some guy just went all in on how stupid an idea that was. They'll never live, and blah blah blah. And I was like, well, I've done this only about 150,000 times. Let's do it one more. And I said, well, it's a trophy bass management strategy. As the water warms in the spring, the trout are suffocating. Basically, there's not enough oxygen in the water for them to breathe anymore. They need high oxygen, cold water, and they begin to get woozy and lethargic. The opposite of what I just described of the threadfin doing in the winter, right? When it warms up, trout start to die, makes them easy prey for big bass, and they get smoked. And it's a good way to put, a bunch of 1-pound trout down the gullet of your 8-pound bass post spawn, easy meal. Like they slurp them like oysters. It's ridiculous. And then you can go out all for 6 months after that with a trout glide bait and smoke them too.
Yeah, like the whole concept is for them not to live. That's the same thing with tilapia. People like in Texas, people are kind of mad. They're like, "Oh, they die every year. They're not worth stocking." It's like, no, that's the point. We don't want them to survive. If they start surviving, that's when you run into problems. Well, you know, because Florida has them all over the place.
Yeah, that's
So
bad. Mm-hmm.
the goal is to not have them live. I mean, not that, well, trout are invasive in some places too, where they don't die. So
Yeah.
anything that's put where it wasn't there originally can cause problems. And people are finding that out. Isn't that what Rudd's battling in Tennessee?
I don't know. What's he got going? I've been paying attention.
Well, he not necessarily him, but I know he talks about was it the Alabama bass that are in Tennessee or the spotted bass? Something is
Oh,
knocking
yeah.
out a native species up there.
Yeah. Yeah. The spots displace everything, breed everything out. They're nasty little boogers. I've watched them over the years. Like there used to be a nice little lake up in North Georgia mountains called Lake Chattooga, and clear water, deep, way up elevation, cold, could sustain smallies. And there was a nice smallmouth fishery there. Actually, I caught a smallmouth there when I was a little kid, maybe 10. But that's gone now. There's no more smallmouth there. Somebody, bass fishermen brought spots in their live wells, and now it's a spotted bass lake, and not even a good one. They're all about a pound.
A stunted spotted bass lake.
That's what they all do. Like Lanier is the fluke on the spots. You can go out and catch 5-6 pounds. Not consistently, but you have a good chance at Lake Lanier to catch a spot that big. But I knew Reggie Weaver, the biologist that worked there he retired from there. He worked there his entire career, and he did mark recapture on Lanier, and he discovered that through some kind of natural mortality or parasites or something, who knows what, they didn't do that part of it, but there was 80% mortality to make year one on the spotted bass population in Lake Lanier.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't follow up with why is that happening?
No money.
Sense. Well, okay. Yeah. That's why a lot of research doesn't get done in our industry.
Yeah. No money. He would love to do it if they would have funded it, but he retired by the time he got the mark recapture done. So, and then nobody else has been there long enough as a biologist to follow up another research project like that. They go in there for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and then they get scooped by corporate somebody, and they're off working for Humminbird or something, But I just thought it really interesting. And then, but again, on a grand level, it goes right back to what we're talking about. Extremely high mortality equals bigger fish. And I don't care if your extremely high mortality comes from gill maggots or from throwing them in a cooler. High mortality equals fish.
It's got to be one of those two, or whatever other option is that's calling them. You can't just stock more forage over them and expect them to grow. That argument I see all the time too.
Oh,
on
Lord,
Facebook, like, I'm going to stock more fathead minnows, which first off would be the worst thing to add to a pond to try to put weight on fish. But
we were just talking about the other day. How many times you've seen the bluegill populations just pillaging them next to the feeder when you stock them? It's not like bass, the only thing they eat fatheads. And how many fathead minnows would a bass have to eat to gain a pound?
A lot.
Yeah.
More than you're paying to put in per acre.
Oh, I think you're frozen up again.
Yeah, I'm gonna refresh it. That whatever buffer thing happened.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. Frank, I hear you, man. I'd like to go ice fishing with you. I'd like to try that, but we need to do the ice shanty. I'm not sitting on a bucket next to a hole on the frozen tundra. Right? We need the house with the heater, right, and the cooler and the hole in the ice. We can look out the window. That's my kind of ice fishing. If I'm in a tent or on a bucket, no. You got to get me inside.
Ice fishing?
Yeah, we're talking about ice fishing.
Yeah, we're from the South. I don't like to get cold. I'm sure you don't either.
I told him I need the hut with the heater. I'll do it, but I'm not sitting on a bucket next to a hole. You know what I mean?
With a bunch of layers, just waiting to catch something.
No. And I got a buddy, Nate, from fishery school. Have you ever seen anybody do the ice gigging?
No, I don't think
Dude, he does that. It's awesome. That's how I wanted to go. I want to go to, I think he's in Wisconsin. My buddy Nate. And so they cut a hole in the ice, right? Like about as big as a window. I don't even know how they do it. You get all the ice out of there. So you're like looking down, right? and then he makes this sweet like chub sucker kind of lures, all kind of colors and stuff. And he'll jig that chub sucker lure down there, and he'll get the pike to come up to it and look at it. And when the pike get under the hole, he jabs a spear with like a pitchfork kind of spear down and gets them.
Huh.
Yeah.
And that's a legal thing to do there?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
I was
crazy.
like, dude, I want to do that. Somebody
that
saw it
seems
on the internet and had a panic attack. They're like, oh my God. But Nate's got the hookup out there. I want to do that. All right, let's see.
I like his response back to what you said.
I haven't gotten to it yet. Hold on. Frank is hilarious.
Where's he at?
Canada.
Canada? Oh, that's really
We can rent an ice castle. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right on. I hear you. You come to Florida in August. I'll show you a princess.
Yeah. How hot do y'all get? Is it the same as here, or
it's actually not as hot here? It's windy here. The coast isn't that far away.
Oh, okay.
So as long as the wind is good, like it can be. Now, I will say it's the persistence of an over 90 gets a little. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we can can we have 89 for a day? It's 91, 92, 93, 98, 95, and it always rains, so you always got that just
humidity,
disgusting humidity. So yeah,
that's what we have here, except we don't get the wind. That's the problem. When we get like really hot days, it's like 2-mile-an-hour wind, so you're just out there doing stuff, and everything's just dead still, humid, hot air. It's not. August here gets rough.
You're in a lot of trouble, Frank. Okay, there we go. Midwest knows what I'm talking about. You see, sturgeon. Yep.
Down here, they just gig flounder.
Yeah. I want to try that too. That looks pretty fun.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's very hard because they don't move. they go over with the boat
water when you see their eyes, right? Yeah, you just get them.
Yeah, that's what I haven't ever done it, but I see people do it on the boat, and it looks like they just kind of. Now seeing them is probably kind of difficult, but once you spot them, they just kind of sit there.
Yeah. Now the other thing I like doing is the blue tilapia out there behind the house in about, let's see, it's Christmas, one more month, maybe about a month and a half. Yeah, February, I think last year. I don't know. I haven't been here long enough to have the exact date, but it's about February or March, right in there. The blue tilapia will come up and start bedding. And you want to talk about? I'd say they're like,
Jeez.
like they're like bluegill. Like they're probably
like big ones.
Yeah, like that. And but you can bow fish them.
Yeah, I was gonna say spearfishing them or bow fishing them would probably be fun. And y'all have pretty clear water, don't you?
Oh yeah, there's 7 or 8 natural springs that pour into Rodman. One of them is right behind my house, and the striper is stacked in it like cordwood.
That would be fun.
Yeah, I got to figure out how to get them. I think I'm going to go out there with some. They said to scale the shiners down if you go with live bait and go with like the commercial jumbos, not the jumbos.
Yeah, because they have small mouths compared to their body.
Yeah, but they said to hop those bucktail jigs down there. So the next time I see them, the stripers in there. Now I hooked one on the dam on Oliver's crazy walking bait. I saw him busting out there, and I was driving along the dam, and if anybody hadn't seen the dam out there, it's just like probably like a mile of nothing but just mowed grass down to riprap down to the lake. It's all, you can just pull your truck down and fish right off the back of it if you want. It's all public fishing access right there. So when the striper pushed those shad up on the dam, I was just driving up and down the dam. When they got close again, I cast over there to them. And I finally hooked one, and I had it hooked for a second. It almost pulled me in the lake. I had to back off the drag. I never got it.
We always caught them with like lipless or spoons. That was always like shad mimicking baits, threadfin shad size. They're fun to catch though.
Yeah, I don't like the heat anymore either, Frank. I can't hack it really. I'm getting old. All right, Kyle's got a question. Let's see. Oh, window unit. Oh yeah, I've actually got an extra one. It's all good. We'll just
Hook it up to a generator.
we'll rent the we'll rent the Princess Ice House. Set it on the back of the boat. Put a window unit in the window there. He can just sit in there and fish off the side of that and the air conditioning. Yeah, they're pretty good to eat, Josh. I blackened some last year, and it's not that mushy farm raised fish at all. It's nice, firm. Now the thing about it is, though, for a big fish, there's surprisingly small amounts of meat on there. They're not that great as far as like you got to shoot a bunch of those big jokers, but they are pretty good.
Yeah, I mean that's what they were brought here for. Well, partially, but aquaculture for food.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Midwest. My buddy's painting those lures that he uses to do the harpooning or whatever that's called. They are works of art. They are beautiful what he does. Some of them, some of them are crazy too. They'll be like bright pink chartreuse, like a 3-foot long chartreuse lure. It's crazy.
I'll have to look those up. I've never heard of that, so I'm curious to see videos on how that works.
Yeah. Nate Grawl, my buddy, does it on Instagram.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That's interesting. I didn't know that was even a thing.
Or Facebook. Sorry, Facebook. Yeah, he does it. That's the only guy I know who does it, though. You guys, funny. All right, let me scroll back and make sure I didn't miss anything. And then I was going to say, I started this conversation out. I came across a photo of a nice bass I caught. On Facebook, it shows that this time last year, your memories.
Oh yeah, like a memories.
Yeah, way back. I had a picture. I caught the fish. I netted the fish. I was in a kayak, so I got him in a net, and it was down. It was about 7.5. I think 7.5 pounder. Nice, healthy fish at the Commerce Reservoir where I used to live. But he took a Crush 75 by 6 cents. You ever fish those?
No, I haven't.
Those are death in the wintertime, dude. Like, it's one of I don't like crankbait fishing very much, but those Crush 75 square bills are a dirty trick. And I don't know why. The first time I saw a square bill that was like that, though, I was in a bass club in Athens, fished with Athens Bassmasters. It was a little bass club, probably had 20 boats in it. We'd fish every month, different reservoir. And I got into doing that because I worked at Zoom Bait Company making plastic worms on a night shift just to have some money.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got a lot of plastic worms, and I got to get into the bass club with those guys. So that was an enlightening experience. And the guy that owned Zoom Bait, he's passed on now. His name is Ed Chambers, and I believe his son Eddie owns it now. But Ed was alive back then, and he sold plastic worms to Walmart for zillions of dollars, but and everybody knows everything about Zoom. Good Lord, those things work. In secret, he built different lures. And one of the tournaments that we went to, I was with one of the guys that had one of Ed Chambers' secret crankbaits. It was a balsa crankbait, but it was really close to that Crush 75 square bill. It looked very similar. And I think that dude he not only did he smoke me out the back of the boat, but he smoked a whole field with that thing by 1.5 miles. Like, it was one of those tournaments where everybody came in like, I got one bite, I caught one fish, and this guy comes in with a limit of 22 pounds, just crushed everybody. And I was like, what have you got? Like, what are you doing? And he's like, I don't have another one. This is the Ed Chambers bait.
He brought one for that reason?
Well, he cracked one off and had one left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he goes, I don't have another one. Like, and he goes, I can't. He was so mad when he lost it. So mad. And he dug around and found one more. And he's like, this is my last one. And I'm like, keep fishing with it, dude. I'm not mad at you. I'm just wondering, what are you doing, bro? Nobody's catching any fish out here. And you're killing. And it was that crankbait. So he was we would go up in pretty shallow water too, and he would put that bait through the rocks. That's why it got cut off, because he was ripping pulling rocks. But he would throw that thing, and he would throw it through wood too. That square bill would come through wood. And he would literally, like, you would not think to throw a crankbait where he was throwing that crankbait. You know, it's like,
yeah, you got to be real comfortable with how to work it and not get it stuck.
Dude, he would roast it and pause it and roast it and pause it, like way faster than I thought about fishing in the wintertime. You know, like never in my life did I ever think about everybody. How many people raise your hands? Oh, slow down in the winter. Nah, dog.
He just kept,
pause. I mean, but sometimes he paused for 30 seconds.
I guess he's just trying to rip it by him and get a reaction bite.
Yep. And that's exactly what he did. And that square bill just chews through everything and doesn't get hung. It's amazing. It was a dirty trick, man. And that's also learned too. Then he taught me about the difference in rods. Like, I was throwing, because I didn't know, I was throwing a crankbait. I was trying to mimic what he was doing, throwing a crankbait on a worm rod.
Oh yeah, and then reels too. Reel speed.
No, that don't work. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. It'll shake it, and they kept shaking me. All the fish, they can get leverage against a worm rod, but if you get a nice moderate break, crankbait rod, they can't shake it. They can't get against it because the rod gives away. It's almost like a fly rod,
Right?
It's got
you get a lot more action.
They can't shake that, and I don't know. Most guys probably know that, but if there's any beginners out there, that was a good lesson for me back in the days.
Yeah, there's actually a reason to all the different rods and reels and the weights and everything, not just because they want you to buy more. That was what I had to, when I first started, I was like, it's all the same. It's a fishing pole.
No, I definitely have technique specific rods.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It matters for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
The reel too, but I mean, I'm no expert at all. I don't fish.
Oh no, you're exactly right. Actually, that's exactly right, because I was on Hartwell one time with another dude. He was cranking. Mike Eccles was his name. He's a pretty good fisherman. Learned a lot from Mike. And again, same thing, man. When you've been bass fishing in ponds, for 8 to 18, so that's 10 years, 19, 20, 12 years of fishing, and all in ponds and all with plastic worms and dinket spinner baits and bank fishermen kind of thing, and then you get thrown onto a boat with a guy who's been in a bass club for 30 years. It's an enlightening experience.
Yeah, well, I believe that, because that's how I grew up too. I just fished all my family had land and with ponds on them, so we'd go fish different ponds, 4 or 5 in a day from the bank or kayaks or whatever. And it's way different than a lake. Way more fun because you catch way more fish, but
Exactly. But it's not this, you can be so dialed in. Like, I never fished crankbaits much because I didn't have a boat to go over there and get them out. You don't
fish it from the bank.
Yeah, it doesn't work good. So I didn't have that much experience with them. But Mike was fishing. We were fishing Hartwell, and back then it was Bill Dance's Fat Free Shad in white, in that pearl white color. It was a deep diver, and it was a good crankbait. It kind of looked like an old, I think Bomber made it. No, it wasn't Bomber. Oh, that's too many years ago. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Bill Dance's Fat Free Shad was smoking them, and he was just pinning them, just catching fish. He's got a limit of fish, and I got 2. I'm like, what is going on? And then I'm like, it's nothing. I'm blanking. He's just wearing them out. And finally, like, he told me, he's like, what is the gear ratio on your reel? He asked me. And I said, I don't know, Mike.
Yeah.
It's
a fishing pole. Who cares?
Yeah. He goes, all right, so you've got a jig rod on it with a crankbait. So there's your first mistake. He goes, and you got a high speed. He goes, I've got a 4.8 to 1 gear ratio on this reel. He goes, my lure is not doing the same thing yours are. My lure is going down in the strike zone, staying down in the strike zone. Yours is going down like this. Mine's going down like this. Because I got the right reel. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. So we went to Walmart. I grabbed a 5.5, a cheap one. I don't even think it was like a Abu Garcia, 5,500 Garcia backlash special. Backlash.
Yeah, one of the lower ones that they make now.
Yeah.
They have new names for them now, but yeah, same thing. It's like the same.
No, I'm talking about the silver one, a round silver one that was a backlash machine. You better have an educated thumb. I got that, and I put it on an ugly stick. And I went back out there with a fat-free shad and started pinning their butts. And I was like, aha, it's a gear thing. It's not me, it's my gear. And, boom, light. But
yeah, it's interesting how you could literally copy the exact same bait someone else that's tearing them up is throwing. But if you don't know how to fish it the way they're fishing it, it doesn't matter if you have the same bait or not. It doesn't translate to you catching fish. You might catch a few more, maybe, but it doesn't translate at all. And that's, but
I had the exact same bait. Same bait. Throwing it into like schooling bass. You know what I mean?
The same place he's throwing, and you're like, what is
5 feet behind him? And he's just bam, whack, whack, whack. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah, here, trade rods. Something's off.
Yeah. No, Josh has got a question though. Talking about 6th Sense. Yeah, you should definitely try 6th Sense, dude. Get the Crush 75 square, definitely. What else? Oh, the 130 Flow Glide is about $20 if you want to have a nice little kind of a 5-6 inch glide bait imitation to experiment with. I've caught some really nice fish on that 130 Flow. Let's see what else is 6th Sense has everything good, man. I really haven't had one of their lures.
They're kind of a newer company, right? Because I feel like within the last 5 years they've gained popularity.
Yeah, probably, maybe a little longer than that, but they've definitely come on in the last 5. And I think probably Milliken. I think Milliken owns all of it or part of it. I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah, because I just remember when I really got into bass fishing, like middle school, high school, that wasn't the baits, watching YouTube and stuff. That's not what people were throwing. You had everybody fishing the Yamamoto, Senko, and all stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember ever 6th Sense ever being the go-to bait. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
No, I don't either. But I tell you what, all the stuff I bought from them, I've caught fish on. I don't think you can go wrong, Josh. And I'm pretty sure Ben Milliken owns it. I'll ask Ben. I know him, halfway know him. I know him well enough that I can send him a DM and he'll respond to it. And he's a cool guy. No problems with Ben at all. I think he's funny.
You're basically a celebrity now, Shane. How's it feel?
Oh, whatever. But no, I like Ben. He's a good dude, smart dude. And he's got an environmental science degree.
Well, that's like talking with Alex on how they design baits and test them and stuff. What he's talking about, like his experience working with Berkeley and stuff. I didn't realize how much work actually went into designing all the new baits stuff they come out with. I mean, it makes sense what they do, but it's a lot longer of a process than you think it would be.
Oh no, man. Have you met Mike Bucca yet?
No, that name sounds familiar, but I don't think I have.
Bullshad. You ever seen Bullshad swim baits?
Yes, I've seen you talk about him, and that's probably where I know that name from.
Yeah. Mike's wasn't far from my old place in Georgia, and started, a long time ago with. He was a guide, and then transitioned into a lure maker because in his guide business, he was looking for that edge, that how do I make a lure that nobody else has? So he had his own, he looking for that advantage. And he was really smart and thinking about, we've got all these lures that mimic all these different kinds of baits except gizzard shad. There's no gizzard shad mimic.
Yeah, that's true.
And so he made one, and that was the original Bullshad swim bait. It cranks like that. You pause it. I mean, dude, he's got it where it falls on its nose and looks like a shad feeding. I mean, it's a dirty trick, dude. Like,
gizzard shad, big fish eat big gizzard shad.
Yeah, and he's got some. I mean, I've got a 11-inch bait of his,
Yeah, I need to get some. I have a few lakes that we manage that they would probably tear them up because gizzard shad are the main forage in those lakes, and there's some
Yeah.
great fish in there.
Now you're going to give some money for one of Mike's baits, you know.
Yeah,
If you
no,
better, you better be not afraid to put 2 bills in the wind. You know?
yeah. Well, and I don't fish enough, so maybe it's not worth it. I go catch them with the shock boat instead. I'll just put that
Well,
boat
the
in the
good
water.
news is, and I'll give you the technique that I fished with Mike. He came with me down to some clients down in South Alabama a couple years ago, and I got the chance to fish with Mike, and that was a good learning experience. As much of a learning experience as the Bass Club, really. We got to fish for about a week together, and pond hop around, and it was a lot of fun on private land. And I tell you what, you better turn your hat around backwards when Book was on the dang trolling motor. He is not playing. You're going around that lake like Talladega, and how he works it is he usually fires at the bank. He does random, cast different places too, but we started out at the bank, pretty deep pond, 30-acre lake. Pretty deep, went down to about 20. Old gravel pit. Guy owned a gravel company, so he had pits.
Most of those lakes are a lot deeper than 20, so that I feel like he probably actually got lucky there with it only being.
It might have been 30 in some spots. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't literally paying. I was in the back, not paying attention to the graph that much, but it was deep on one end. I mean, extremely deep. Extremely
it just goes like straight down.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So we started on the bank, and he just started firing that thing. And I'm telling you, dude, like, forget about the 5.1 gears. Mike is rolling the 10.2 gears. He's ripping.
He's burning that thing.
I mean, burning the paint off that thing coming back. And I'm just watching him, I'm not saying a word. And he just ripped that place alive, dude. I'm telling you, we got halfway around that 30-acre lake. He had me 13-1.
Dang.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that.
Hey, at least you got one. At least you weren't completely skunked.
Dude. Yeah. And so he explained everything about his design. Okay, so he's mimicking bigger baits, right? He's got that. It's worth it. Like that genetic thing in a bass's mind that triggers it to eat. What is that? Well, I don't know. But I personally think that given a chance to get a big bass to strike, you stand a better chance on a big smart fish with a bigger lure.
Yeah. Well, they always say big bait catches big fish.
And when they want it, they're going to torch it, right? So what Mike said was, I don't even worry about it. I mean, he's burning it over the top of brush in 25 feet of water. He don't care. He goes, they'll come up from there. He's not sinking stuff down there. It's under, like, if this is the surface of the water, Mike's bait is like here.
He's like, it's $200 bait. I ain't chancing it down there in that brush pile.
Well, no, it's not. All right. So what he said was, and this is smart. I never thought about it this way. All right. You cast out a plastic worm. Say this is the bottom of the pond, right? And it goes down to the bottom of the pond. So this is the bass coming down to look at it, right? Well, where's it going to go down? Once it's on the bottom of the pond, it's trapped, right?
Right.
It can't go that way away. If it was in the middle of, if it was sitting here, it can go this way to get away, this way to get away, this way to get away. But once you got it down on the bottom, it's in an entrapped position.
Yeah, it can't go anywhere.
It can go left, right, forward, back, but you've trapped it at least from going 360, right? Well, guess what? It's also trapped right here.
That makes sense. Well, that's why, topwater baits, you're getting the same.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, because it can't go in the air.
It can't go in the air. Anyway. It can't go into the earth. So when he puts it up here, he's doing one thing. He's got it in a trap position. It's a very vulnerable place. It's an oversized bait. So you're triggering that. Oh, it's injured. It's big. It's trapped. It's worth it. Right. And then the last piece of the puzzle is the speed. Because you got all those things and you ain't got long to think about it. Hit it or don't hit it because we've gone.
Yeah, that's why fathead minnows don't work in ponds to grow big fish. They're not wasting their time.
That's just a sales ploy. Yep. I like tactical bass in Midwest. I agree with that. Let's see what we got. Burn. Yes, that's it. That's exactly. You got it. You got it. That's it. The bomber. You called it. Suspending fat free fry. Yep. I remember that bait, man. Going through, seeing it. I don't see any questions here.
Oh, are y'all gonna be on the topic of gizzard shad? Are y'all gonna be putting gizzard shad in Clint's Lake? I thought that was something that
Yeah.
y'all were talking about doing.
Yeah, I think I'm going to put some in this fall or this winter and see what happens. Clint seems, I gave him all the
Pros and cons.
Yeah. And he's like, let's do it. And I'm like, all right. So we'll probably throw some in there this winter. And again, it's exactly the same thing. I want 3-pound fish. I don't want to put trout in there. I don't want to put gizzard shad in there. I don't want anything but my nice, basic, just follow the very vanilla rules of pond management for 2 or 3 years until you're set. Once you're set,
yeah, it opens up the playground a little bit more.
A little bit more.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to put gizzard shad in too early because they can make the pond rough if they overpopulate, and they can do that pretty easily.
Oh, you saw the dot survey too with me. I mean, you were there. Do you feel scared about adding them?
No, I don't think so. He's got enough big bass in there that I think they'll be managed well. But we have reset several ponds this year that were overpopulated with gizzard shad, and a lot of them. And that pond was stupid muddy. The water was nasty. Couldn't grow. The bass all sucked. So we drained it. We killed it, and now it's too clear. He can see. Is an old guy, and the main thing he wanted was his water to be prettier. He did not like the muddy color of his water.
Oh, right.
And so we killed it all. He filled it back up. We had it all limed and everything, and the water's way, way too clear. But it's clear enough to where he dropped his hearing aid off his dock in like 9 foot of water, and he found it on the bottom of his pond and got it out. And he thought the coolest story was that he thought he found his hearing aid in his pond and put it back in his ear, and it still worked. But I was like, yeah, I know you like the clear water, but we're gonna fix that a little bit. 9 foot, you're gonna have a whole lot of other problems if you can see the bottom of your pond in 9 foot. So, but his main thing was just not having it muddy anymore. So,
it's definitely not that, is it?
No, we're gonna probably hit it with some fertilizer come March.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, get it nice and green.
Yeah, that'll bring it back around. And I've noticed too that those super clear ponds become super difficult to fish. The fish can literally just see you walk up to the pond.
Oh yeah, it's
and
for an older guy who just wants to go out and cast off his dock and catch fish, he's not looking for a pro level fishing pond where he's got to work really hard to catch fish. He just wants to go catch fish. So yeah, 10 foot, 9 foot of visibility is not ideal in that situation.
No. I had a job one time years and years ago now. It was at a fancy golf club in Atlanta. It was called Atlanta Golf Club, Atlanta. I forget. Anyway, it was like $1 million a joint or whatever. It's elite, whatever. Bobby Jones played there. You know what I'm saying? Like just And so I go in and talk to the greenskeeper, and he's like, yeah, man, I got, we're changing the course, and we've got a pond, and we're going to be pulling it down, draining it to change the fairways and stuff. And I've got to get the fish out. And I'm just going to put them in another pond. All right. I don't really recommend that, but they're your fish. It's your golf course, and it's a golf course anyway. So I really don't care because how many people fish out here anyway? And he's like, well, actually, we have a couple and they're allowed to fish. And that's the reason why you're out here is because everybody's so concerned about the good bass that's in this little pond. And I'm like, okay, whatever. It's 4 acres, I mean, it's 4 acres unmanaged in the middle of suburbia. How good could it be?
Right.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, yeah, whatever. So, and long and skinny, more like a creek, kind of winding, kind of follow the fairway on like moat almost down the left-hand side. You don't want to hook it over there, little bridge across it, but nothing not deep, 6 feet, probably average depth. Didn't look like anything much. Put it in, turned it on. I think we took like 27 bass over 5 pounds out of that thing.
Golly.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was the shad. The river had flooded at some point in time in the past, the Chattahoochee River, because it backed up to that. Or somebody caught some shad out of the river and threw them in there. I don't know. But somehow shad got in there. And I've seen that a couple times where, yep, they can screw it up. And yep, for under 10 acres, I've never seen more fish over 5 pounds. That's what I'm hoping happens for Clint.
Yeah, no, I think it will. I think it'll work out well. Gizzard shad just grows so fast that I think it's gonna help push his bass, those 3 to 4 pound bass faster than his bluegill alone.
Yeah, if we put him in and get a good spawn, and what I'll do is I'll just get some adults, some big ones, 50, 100 maybe, throw them in there in a month or so right before the spawn, so they don't have to live very long. And take care of Midwest. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all the whatever the proper thing is to say these days. Thanks for coming in, talking to us, man. Appreciate all the support.
Here, let me hit this refresh right quick.
All right. So I'll scroll back. Yeah, burn those bull shads, man. And if you don't want to spend the huge amount of money, the Buka brand has it's the same bait, but it costs less, like $15. You don't have to spend $100. And honestly, I have done real well on that smaller. It was I think it was Ketchco used to make that plastic one, but then Mike got another deal or something with this Buka brand. And but they make, it's the same bait. It's like 3.5, 4 inch. But they also have cheaper versions of the trick shad, cheaper versions of the glide baits, cheaper versions of everything with that Buka brand. So if you're not looking to spend a whole lot of money on Mike's designs, you can go that way. I'd recommend keeping a few of his baits in the box.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some. Fishing gizzard shad. That a gizzard shad bait seems interesting.
Dude, I tell you what, just get that Buka brand. It's about that big. It's pearl white. Get you a spinning rod, medium action, 10-pound test line, 12. That's all you need. Fish it just the way I told you. You just kind of you don't have to always burn it to vary your speeds a little bit, but keep it subsurface. And just fire it, dude. Just fire it all over a pond. And just the only thing I tell you to do is I always bust it out on the thread fin ponds. If you got thread fins.
Okay, yeah, because that's a smaller size. So you're matching thread fin.
I had a guy, he called me out to do some consulting at a pond. It wasn't his property, it was a property he worked on, or his boss. But he used me as a consultant to get into the neighbor's pond that was 2 years old, 10 acres. They put 50 bass breakers, so they weren't, you know how that goes, but still, it was pretty nice. And he wanted to go fishing there, and he used me I'm going to bring the biologist guy, and we're going to go fishing. We're going to do all these measurements, do all this information, whatever. So he just wanted to fish there, and that's fine. I played along, and I went fishing with him. Well, he tells me, and it's normal stocking. You know, they overstocked it with channels, but there was nice, pound and a halfers and some threes. The first year fish were decent. And he told me there's threadies in there. And I was like, oh, really? Hold on. I went to my truck and I grabbed a couple of Bukas and I grabbed some blades. It was windy that day, so I had some spot sticker spinner baits, and I grabbed a couple of those. And that's exactly right, Frank. Now you said you like that? Do a little hook and line assessment.
That's that's a fun way to do it. For
Yeah.
Sure.
That is a real. You laugh, Frank, but that's a real terminology. You need to learn these scientific terms, my friend. So we go over to the lake. He gets in there, and same thing as a learning experience that day. I was fishing that bull shad too slow, and we weren't catching anything. About the first hour went by, and no bites, nothing. And I made a bad cast, and it kind of went out to the middle of the lake. And I was like, well, I just want it back. I'm not fishing it. I just want it back to the boat. I didn't hit the spot I wanted to hit.
Yeah, you want to recast it
as fast as I can get it back to the boat. So I just roasted it. And I was just in it, bringing it back. And he said something to me, and I looked this way and took my hand off. And as soon as I took my hand off the reel, wham, 3-pounder jacks it. And I was like, oh, it's on now. I see. Okay. So I started firing that thing and burning it. And
it's always when you're not paying attention that you get the best bites. You're looking over your shoulder or something, drop something, go to pick it up, and you're like, oh man.
I think what it is it makes your hands wander. You know what I mean? You're doing things in a weird way and you're not paying attention, but it's making the lure do something different.
Yeah.
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 But anyway, I got on the pattern. I figured the pattern out right there. And as soon as I did, I had that dude 29 fish to 2.
Dang. He didn't catch on to the pattern.
He wouldn't even. I took that bait off. I only had one. I said, you can fish with it. That insulted him. He was so I've never fished with a dude again. He was so mad at me. Like he couldn't handle it. I took the bait off, tried to hand it to him, trying to be nice. I was like, just catch some fish, man. They're eating the crap out of it. I don't care. I'm gonna try these blades. First cast with the blades. Whack.
Oh no.
He was mad, dude. And I don't know. Some dudes are that way. I fished with people that way before. It happens. Hey, Preston, what's up, man? I'm talking. Oh, we haven't been talking fish stuff, man. We've been yakking about everything but fish stuff, really. Just fishing.
Yeah.
But,
well, a little bit of fish stuff at the end, or maybe a little bit at the beginning.
Yeah.
We talked about trout some.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. We don't have to do fisheries biology every time, do we?
No. People probably pay attention more to the ones that we don't. We just throw a little bit in there in the middle of talking about other stuff, and then they'll catch on to that little bit instead of when you actually make a whole episode about it.
Yeah, just don't avalanche them with the information.
Yeah, it probably works better that way.
You know what? I mean, the past couple times we've done this, in about a week, we'll have 100 views on YouTube. So let's see what happens in a week. Yeah, less or more.
Hey, 100 people that learn something new. That's good. That's making a difference.
I see people talk about that kind of stuff all the time. Like, oh, it's only like 100 likes. I'm like, dude, that's 100 people. Have you ever stood in front of a room of 100 people?
Yeah, and given a speech, I have. It's not fun. Yeah, no. I don't enjoy it.
Yeah, it's like, that's a lot. I'm impressed even if the kids aren't.
Yeah, well, and then some of those like short clips that you and Alex made from when we shocked those ponds in Georgia, dude, of those got crazy views, like 100,000, couple 100,000. It was nuts.
Yeah, it did. I had one from the pond. Figure this out. How many times have I gone down to Sugar Hill Outdoors, kicked the thing on, you don't see my face. I'm just holding the phone. I'm talking about the pond, whatever, yakety yak, yak, whatever, done. 1 minute, throw it on YouTube. The thing's been viewed like 1.3 million times.
Oh, I've seen that one. Yeah, it's probably no offense to you, but it's probably one of the least interesting videos.
It's terrible, dude. You don't have to sugarcoat it. It's crap. I've done it 86 times. I could have done it drunk. Yeah,
I think you just talked about like the food chain or something. I don't remember what it was, but it was something simple.
It was,
it absolutely blew up.
it had to do about the pounds, like boosting the biomass or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like carrying capacity. I think that's what it was. It was about talking about carrying capacity in a pond.
Yeah, yeah. And why that one particular video?
Maybe people care about growing more fish per acre.
I don't know. I don't know. But that one, and I had another one get 1 million views on Instagram, but that was 4 years ago. And it takes a while, you know. If somebody talks about they get 1 million views in a week or something, I don't even know how that's possible, because it probably took 5 months for that video to get 1 million views. And you could go on to the YouTube thing and swipe it down and refresh it and look at the count. Say it was like 100,000 views, and then swipe it again, it'd be like 128,000, 100. Every time you swipe it, it was a different number by a significant amount. You could, and literally as fast as it would refresh for weeks.
You know, and I think like our industry being pond and lake management is harder to go viral because it's just a small niche thing. Like professional fishing, it's not the fish itself, it's the angle that we approach it. It's hard to go viral because the fishing industry is big, but our industry is very small.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started doing private pond and lake management, talking to people that the towns I grew up in, nobody had even heard of. I mean, I didn't know that it was a thing when I grew up, but people were like, "Oh, wow, that's a great idea for a job." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's awesome." But most people don't know what it is.
Right. No, they don't. And I mean, I've been doing it all these years, and I still run into people all the time, never heard of it.
Yeah. You know? When we got I think it's almost 1.3 million ponds in Texas. And, people don't want to talk about pond management or talk about the industry because they don't want to give away their secrets and whatnot. And I'm like, dude, you realize you would not be losing business by talking about pond management, right? I mean, we have over 1 million ponds just in the state of Texas. More people need to know about it because you get a lot more business rather than lose a lot of it.
Yeah, that's what I don't get. It's like these guys want to be competitive and act like it's like, dude, there's so much work out there that is untouched. They don't even know you're there.
When I think people don't realize pretty much all this information is there if you want to go get it. Like you don't have to be. This isn't like something that we took this secret class that no one else has access to. The information and the data is out there. The research papers are out there. You just got to go read them. That's the only difference between, us and the guy that just owns the pond and goes fishing. He could have the same amount of knowledge if, he puts in the time and learns about it.
I mean, really though, without Dr. Gilbert and without school, like if I just gave you the book, do you really think?
Oh no, there's levels to it for sure. But you could go a lot. Well, and people that just go to school for pond management, if you don't do anything outside of school, like if you're not curious, you don't do your own digging, your own kind of like, if you just took exactly everything you learned, at least what I learned when I was at A&M, and I just tried to go be a professional that knows everything, you would get embarrassed very quickly. Like I learned a lot from school. It set up the foundation for everything, but I learned a lot also out of school by going, and thinking about things and then figuring out the research that supported the thought that I had. If you don't have that mentality, you're going to get left behind whether you went to school or not.
Yeah.
The bad part is, at least around in the Texas area, I'm sure it's the same in Georgia, pond management starting to get traction. So we were talking to the guy at the fish farm where Holland fished like 2 weeks ago, and he's like, dude, you can throw a rock and hit a new pond and lake manager. But he's like, a lot of the new ones, not, I'm a new one, whatever. You can lump me in that category if you want to. They have no idea what they're doing. A lot of them didn't go to school, at least in the area that I'm in. They just see it as an opportunity to make a lot of money. And
I call them novelheads.
Yeah. And so they think it's a good way to make a lot of money. And then they go out and do all the stuff. And then we got to come back behind them and clean up their mess.
Yeah.
And it frustrates me. It honestly does. I feel so bad for people when you come and talk to them and they're like, man, we've paid 4 different companies and they can't fix this. And I'm like, okay, what are you dealing with? Like, talk about the situation. And I'm like, they couldn't fix that problem. Wait, what do you mean they couldn't fix it? And they're like, I don't know. We've spent $20,000 and we're still in the same place. And then we go out couple $1,000s later and it's gone. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what do you mean they couldn't fix that? But like you said, it's one approach. They just go nuke it with whatever herbicide they know of and walk away and act like it's going to be solved, forever. And it's like, yeah, that's why you couldn't fix it.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, the nozzle heads. We're going to spray ponds and make money.
Yeah. Well, and to me, if your angle is all about how much money you're going to make, you're not going to have a very good business anyway, because you're not worried about the outcome for your customer. You're worried more about how much that paycheck's going to be when they pay you for the job you did. So that's kind of where I see a lot of that. It correlates. The people that the work may not line up with what they're charging them for is also because all they care about is how much they're charging them. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I've seen guys say stuff like, I subbed out for a guy one time. We were at a job, but he had to stop at another place to get information to do a bid. He was on speakerphone and I was just sitting in the truck. And one of the dudes was working for him was a friend of mine from college. So he's like, get Shan, he'll come help us for a week, And they're talking, and he's like pulled up in the spot, looking around. He's like, yeah, we're here. And he's like, all right, what kind of cars are in the driveway?
Yeah.
That was his first question. What are they driving? How many acres do they have? How big is the lake? What's the house look like? Not what's the issue with the pond?
Yeah. No, when I was in college and when I first met you, because I was reaching out to other professionals in the industry, I talked to a couple people. I'm not going to say who they were, but that was the first thing. They're like, you'll learn to identify who's going to be your customer and who's not when you first drive up and you see their house and the cars in their driveway. And that didn't make sense to me. I see what they're talking about now, because we do work for people that you drive up to the house and you're like, damn, what is this?
But
you also drive up to houses that are not like that, and you can still help those people and they still pay you. So it's kind of like, I feel like that approach comes up to, they see a big house and they immediately think, I'm going to charge triple what I would normally charge because they can afford it. Instead of just doing the work and giving them good results, and then they'll pay you more later, because you'll come back. So I don't know. I don't like that approach, but it's everywhere.
Oh, I know. And I as a young business person, I like that you're young and in business, and you need to realize that and don't do it, because
it drives me insane.
I never did it. I had at least that much integrity, but I can remember the times that I worked for dudes who were billionaires with a B.
Yeah.
Millionaires with an M. And the billionaires with a B will pull up in a 97 Ford jeans.
Yeah, you would never know.
Nope.
They don't want you to know, though, because that exact reason.
How do I put it? New money shout, old money whisper.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Remember that.
Yeah. Some of our best customers, you pull up to their house and you would not think they spend as much money with us every year as they do. But they do.
Oh, yeah.
But they do it because they trust you as a person, not because, I don't like that mentality of how much money can I make from this person. And honestly, the DIY sector gets targeted the hardest, I feel like, by some of that stuff. Dude, I see ads on Facebook for these products all the time, and they're like, oh, just add this product. Your pond looks like complete crap. It's covered in algae. Just add this and it'll be fixed within a month naturally. And I'm like, dude, what magical cure are you selling? Because I promise you it doesn't work that way. If it did, nobody would ever hire me ever, because they wouldn't need to.
No, they wouldn't.
But they make a lot of money marketing stuff like that, and it drives me insane. So if you see Pristine's Facebook page start going a little rogue and calling people out, that's where it's coming from.
Well, I've added a little bit of that. It's okay. I think we've put it out there enough that, again, as soon as I figured out that you could major in fish, I went and did it, and I read the books, and I was motivated. And if that's not you, then you're in the wrong spot on this page.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know half the stuff we're talking about on this page, you shouldn't be charging people to manage their pond.
No, you should.
I see that a lot too. People asking in those Facebook forums, it would drive me crazy too. There'd be people asking questions on a post, and they're like, "Okay, yeah, I need to know this because I'm about to go charge so and so to go do that treatment, but I want to make sure I do it right." Which I don't mean don't network with other professionals because you're never gonna know everything. There's always gonna be things you can learn. But if you're
Yeah.
asking people on a Facebook forum how to treat someone's pond, you probably should rethink your approach there because you're gonna just make yourself look bad. But and
Mhm.
I even saw people in those forums make a post and say, "Pond fish and pond management seems fun. And it seems like a good way to make a lot of money. Is it an easy business to start and to an easy industry to be in? Because I think I should do it." And I'm like, dude, I
Sure,
wrote
go
him a
for
book. I was like, dude, I'll be honest. If you don't, you're like, you got to know more than you think you got to know to be good at what you do. Plus, you don't want once you ruin your reputation, like bad reputation spreads way faster than a good one. So once you got a
Mhm.
bad one, there's no coming back from that. So it just, just to protect yourself, don't screw people over too many times or it'll come back for you.
It will. It certainly will. Um, I have seen I have seen a lot of that, and there's just certain people they can't they can't interact like you and I interact. It's just they got to be too competitive. Like the guy on the front of the boat that's 29-2. He's too
Yeah,
competitive.
wanted to throw you in the water
Yeah, dude, the
instead of
dude
taking your
screamed.
bait.
He missed us. He missed a hook set and screamed like "Rah!" mad, so loud it almost scared me out of the boat. He startled me so bad.
Like,
And
dude,
that's
fishing
my
is supposed to
thing.
be stress relieving and fun. You're
Not
this
for
is
him.
not good.
No. So that mentality right there, you're going to find it in other biologists. They're not going to
Oh,
cooperate with you. You know
I
what I mean?
found it more often than I didn't, especially starting out, because I just
Right.
wanted to talk to people like, hey, I see that you're successful in the industry. You got any advice for me? And some of them wouldn't even talk to me. And I'm like,
No,
dude, how am I a threat to you? I'm 19 years old. What am I going to do to you? You know?
that just shows you like how small-minded they are. It's juvenile behavior. If you can't look at the numbers, like again, you do have a degree in fisheries, right? Which means you should understand statistics a little.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
plenty of work for everyone.
Yeah, well, and yeah, I don't know. It was very eye-opening to me from the beginning, which is how I met you. So I'm glad I didn't stop at the first few people that didn't get back to me. But
Right.
it was very eye-opening, and I was like, man, this is kind of weird. And then once you really get in the industry, you notice it even more because you start seeing how they interact with people on Facebook and stuff, or just forums and everything, and how they'll keep information. Like you can only ask certain questions and get responses before they stop answering stuff for you. So I don't know.
Mhm.
It's it was eye opening for me.
Oh, that's a good question, Tennessee. Thank you for that. What do you think, Garrett?
Do I feel like my fishing is better? Well, yes, but I use it less. So but yeah, no, I think it helps you. I mean, if
I
you
do.
know where fish are going to be based on how they interact, it also, I would say it helped me learn how to better handle fish and take care of fish to get better results more so than it did make me better at fishing. But it did teach me a lot about fishing also. It put it all together. It filled in all the blanks, I guess is the best way to say it.
I've kind of answered this before, so I'll try to draw off that. Um, I don't think that what I teach you here, because I'm teaching you everything I know. I just blend it all together. I'm not holding anything back here. And I've had so many people tell me that it helped them, that I'm confident that it helps people. But I'm confident too that I'm not teaching you how to be a better fisherman. Okay. I'm teaching you about the environment, which gives you confidence, which causes you to grind harder, which causes you to catch more fish. That's what I think is going on. So you back, Garrett?
Yeah. I think my laptop's old. I don't know if that's what it is or what. But anyway, so you were saying it teaches you last time.
Well, what I said was I think I've had so many people say that the page helps their fishing, but I don't teach fishing. Like, do you see me showing anybody how to throw a jerkbait? We just described how Mike Buka fishes, right? But that's not me teaching. That's taking Mike's fishing techniques and showing someone. That's not me teaching you about fishing. That's me giving you an experience that, of somebody better fishing than me that I was fortunate enough to fish with. So, no, I don't think I make you a better fisherman. I think I give you the guy's confidence. It fills in those blanks. They're seeing things in a different way. Their brain is working in a different way. But at the end of the day, it's maybe giving them the opportunity to put their lure in a more productive place. Confidence. And those two things combined will keep you on the water fishing harder and longer. And that right there will catch more fish.
Right. Yeah. Because I would say there's a lot of people out there that could definitely outfish me that I know way more about scientifically.
Yes.
So definitely.
And vice versa. That's the problem that we have.
Yeah.
You know way more about scientifically how to manage these fish. Those guys know more about fishing, but that's not helping them over here, but they think it is.
Right. And they won't listen to you at all.
Oh no.
They are truly the hardest to get to understand pond and lake management is the diehard fisherman most of the time.
Yep. Yep. That is it.
HOAs, you get an assortment of all the people. The fishermen get in their own way sometimes more than the people who don't even care about the lake, honestly.
Yep. They do every time, almost every time the fishermen, they just can't understand. They can't differentiate between good fishing and good fish growth. They don't think there's any difference, and they're not even the same sport.
No, they're almost opposite in reality, which is people don't understand that either. And it's not to knock fishermen. I wish more of them would work with us on management because I think that's the best chance bass fisheries have is bass fishermen working with biologists because the biologists know the information. The bass fishermen are the ones out there spending time on the water, catching the fish that could make the difference. They could keep the fish, put the ones back that need to go back, but there's a divide there. And so it doesn't happen. It just, yeah, I don't know. It's like a feud almost.
Oh yeah.
The biologist ruined the lake. Can't talk to him.
Right. And, big picture, standing on a plateau looking over the valley for me is you guys can sit here and yell at me all day long about these public lakes all you want to. Okay. I could give a rat crap. Your liquor and methamphetamine trash fish emporium down there is irrelevant to me. It's gone, it's cooked, and it ain't coming back. You hear me? I am trying to help bass in small private waters, which is going to be the only place they're going to grow good anymore for the rest of forever.
Yeah, it's way more fun. Way more fun because
you're not fixing 100,000 acres. Yeah, it ain't happening. It just ain't happening. And these guys are like, well, we're going to start keeping these bass and fix it. Good luck, Chief.
Yeah. I know people 7 acres of water that have tried to correct crappie populations. That's a different ball game, but they've taken out like almost 1,000 pounds or 1,000 crappie a year, and they haven't made a dent. They are still the same. So it's the same concept with bass. You can make a dent faster, but that's about it in small impoundments, not big ones.
Whenever somebody talks about harvesting crappie to help their population, I think about that song by Ween, "You Can Piss Up a Rope."
Oh yeah.
You ever heard that song?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know this song, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, no, that's
so bad. Yeah, it's just like you're okay. Yeah, don't listen to me. Fine, go do whatever you want.
Yeah, don't save it, drain it. That we talked about that on a post. That's pull the plug.
Frank,
that's the
I'd like to rote known Headwaters, Frank. I'm telling you. That's a joke. We had a guy come in here It was Geezo Pete. It was a guy named Pete. And Pete was he was like the guy we were talking about earlier. It didn't matter how bad he made himself look. He was just here to argue.
Oh.
We had him in here, and that was from God, probably 2 years ago, right, Frank? A year and a half? I don't even know. Whenever I started doing this crap on YouTube. But I had to block Pete. He was balling out of control with negativity over there. So we won't have more Pete. But
what was the concept of the argument? Like, what was the topic?
Well, that's he kept bringing up like how good the fishing was in Headwaters, which is a big new reservoir south of me, about 4 hours near Wellington.
New reservoir. That was the key word there.
Yeah, exactly. But when you go look at all the catches, they've got some nice big ones from the original stock first couple of years, but it's already completely. I mean, the dinks are just running over the top of that place already.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It's like 4 or 5 years in, But I mean, again, I don't even think the growing season stops down there. It's 4.5 hours south of here.
Yeah, probably not. I don't know some years that it really stops here either, to be honest. I mean, if you're staying above, if you're in the mid 50s, it's going to slow down a lot, but it's not going to stop.
Yeah, I'd like to see the relative weights on the fish in Headwaters. And it doesn't look like they're good. It looks like that one's stunting out real quick.
That's unfortunate. You got a good question in the comments.
Oh, what's Bassmaster again? Let's see what we got. Tennessee Bass. So from that logic, how impactful are those summer fish kills from all the weekend tournaments? Okay, that's a good question too, man. You're right. So let's talk about that. And we touched on it earlier in this. The problem with the tournaments is they're very consistently killing the biggest fish. So if your fish are able to jump into that 3 to 6 pound size class, they're spending the whole summer riding around in live wells with all these 200 boat tournaments going out there. Once you tank those fish 3 times in the same summer, they have like a 90% chance of mortality, even if you handle them perfectly. You can't keep putting fish in tanks over and over and over again like that, especially in the heat of the year, and not kill them. So for 40 years, we've had all the 1 pound bass go back, all the 3s to 5s to 6s to good fish sitting around in tanks. You're literally killing the wrong end. You need to kill the other side. You need to kill every 1 pound bass that you catch and throw back the 7 pounders immediately. That's how that needs to be opposite of. So these tournaments have literally screwed you guys out of trophy bass with their catch and release preaching and the way they weigh and measure the fish. It's like, I don't agree. I like the concepts of the kayak guys way better, where they're doing that whole length and putting them back immediately.
That's what MLF does now, right?
Yep. Well,
but that's because they have.
Those guys made me so freaking mad for so many years that I don't care what they do or what they say or even where they go or what they do. They're irrelevant to me. Go away. I don't care.
Yeah. Private water is where you're going to have to go.
My thing is ponds. That's where we hunt. That's where we live. We're going to help the people we can help in the fisheries we can help. I could give a crap about whatever over there.
Now, I will say summertime fish kills, not necessarily from tournaments, but from turnover events, that can help upon. Yep. It also kills the big bass, but you'll kill a lot of the small ones too. Yep. I've seen ponds that are bass crowded completely do a 180 after a turnover, because it just killed pretty much all the bass off it. So those can be useful. It hurts because you kill all your big bass too at the same time. So not an ideal management strategy, but in a big lake, that's kind of what happened in OH Ivy, right? I never kept up with that story, but I know it got really low.
Dried up. Yeah. It was almost gone. Yeah.
So that's why it's throwing off giants right now. 10 more years, it'll be over.
Oh yeah, it'll be done. It'll cycle out. And that's how, again, like we talked about it on Rudd for a little bit. We talked about OH Ivy. It drained down, filled back up. So we basically have a new reservoir. And then we do have a new reservoir at Bussy Break. It's only 1,200 acres. It's not big like OH. OH is like 20,000, I think. But you go east a little bit to Louisiana, and you're at Bussy, again, new reservoir. At year 3, I think it was, that reservoir busted or 4 maybe. MLF was there. They had one guy had 2 10s on the same stringer. Another guy had a 12. Yeah, like they crushed every big weight weigh in, big fish weigh in, every single, like they broke the biggest fish they ever caught in a tournament, the biggest stringer in a tournament, all of it. Crushed it at break. Crushed it.
Brand new lake.
Yeah, brand new lake again. And then now move all the way east to here to Orange Lake. That's just right up the road for me, 20 minutes. Same thing as OH Ivy. It drained down. It filled back. They almost lost it completely, but the rains came back. It filled back up. It fixed. However, I don't know all the ins and outs, but there's dudes catching 15-pound bass over there.
Yeah, well, that's the bad thing. A lot of the reservoirs are so big, there's no way to manually reset them, and a lot of them are in areas where it gets enough rain to where they're never gonna go dry and have a fish kill like that. You know what I mean?
No.
They're just not. Like the one I live by
done.
is Lake Conroe, and it's big. It's 20-something thousand acres, but it rains here enough. That lake is never going to go dry.
No.
So it'll forever be what it is. And people catch big bass out of that lake, but probably not forever. You know, it's going to go downhill eventually.
Right. It will. And to touch on what you said, I personally witnessed that many times with a fish kill on a bass heavy pond.
It's almost like a blessing.
Yeah, like 3, maybe 4 times I can think of, or because fish kills weren't really that common for me. I didn't have too many. Somebody messed around with some kind of like spray or something, like a termite man messed up or something and got some chemicals in the water and killed the fish on one of them. And I went out there and looked at it, and they did have some dead fish. I picked them up for them. It wasn't wasn't anywhere near 100% kill, and that's the first thing I told them. You guys don't have 100% kill, and you guys were stunted to hell and back anyway. I actually think this fish kill is going to benefit the pond and not really hurt it. And you should have seen their faces at the meeting. They were just looking at me like I had an alien coming out of my ear.
Yeah.
And but the board guy who was in charge of the money for the lake knew me and trusted me and said, okay, we're not spending any money. You know, we're not going to stop. We're not doing anything. We're going to take his advice as we paid him to do. We're taking his advice, and then come back 2 years later and the guy's sending me a picture of an 8-pound bass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the ones we have where there's fish kills is just drought and they get low, and then fall rain hits, dumps a bunch of water in at one time and just turns the whole thing over. So they'll lose. Like the one I'm thinking of that we surveyed most recently, they probably lost 75% of their fish. But dude, we shocked that thing in the spring, and that pond had bluegill everywhere. Like he actually needed to add more bass because he had, I think in our whole survey of a 4-acre pond, we got 2 real small bass, and it was some absurd number of bluegill, like several hundred. So, but you know, that doesn't happen often. You're not going to have a pond turnover very often. But his main concern was, did he lose all his fish, and how does he prevent it from happening in the future? But I told him, I was like, man, you got a blessing in disguise there, because he had all kinds of junk in it. Flathead catfish and big gizzard shad. Yeah, his neighbor was stocking it with whatever he wanted to.
Right on. Sure, why not? Don't listen to anyone or try to read a book. Just throw fish around. It's a good idea.
Yeah, it's bass heavy. Let's put catfish in there. That'll fix it. Yeah, that's a argument all the time.
Dude, I've seen flatheads a couple of times in ponds. That is not a good idea.
Dude, they're units. They eat everything.
What? No doubt. No doubt.
And they don't care how big it is.
I'm telling you, I'm going through the comments to make sure I didn't miss anybody. We're running on 1 hour and 40 now. All right.
That rolled pretty quick.
It did, didn't it? So looking forward, man. I got you on this week. Maybe I'll get Preston on again. He's in here somewhere. He's a fish biologist, but then I think I'm going to call it, I don't know, maybe the OG interviews or something like that. I got my buddy Derry Stockbridge coming in from Atlanta on here. He's agreed to come on. And Derry started managing ponds in like 1973.
Okay. So he's been doing it for, twice as long as I've been alive. But yeah.
Yeah. But he's also seen the break across the catch and release.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
From before when it started to where
before catch and release started in Atlanta, he said 90% of the ponds were bluegill heavy because everybody kept all the bass out.
Huh. I've never seen a bluegill heavy pond. Probably never will.
Right? No, you probably won't. I've only seen 2 or 3, and one of them was intentionally stocked that way so we could study it at school.
Yeah.
The other one was, well, the others not the other were there from green sunfish and crappie, so I don't really count that.
Yeah, that's a mess right there. That's a drain and try again.
Trash fish. Not even worth wasting your money with them in the pond, really.
No. Not when they've gone south. There's no coming back.
I'll take it, Frank. I'll take anything I can get at this point, man. Give me some Canadian advice. Anyway, so we'll get John Key on here. I'm gonna get Derry Stockbridge on here, and we're gonna talk old school, new school, kind of. Talk to some guys was more experienced than me.
Right.
I think that's real important. Real.
Yeah, I'll have to watch that one. I like to learn from people that know more than I do.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I think the one person to watch out for on this world mentioning that, if you're dealing with a consultant, is the guy that's making those comments like he knows everything. There's your red flag right there, because this is not a subject you can know everything about. That's impossible.
Yeah, if they're the best at everything involving this, or self-proclaimed to be the best at everything that has to do with pond management. No, you're right.
No,
I find the people that have been in the game the longest, and then I bother them to no end, like I did with Shan, until I feel satisfied that I have drained them of every ounce of information that they have.
Well, I'm glad it worked for you. I'm proud that I don't need it anymore. What do I care? I don't really. I mean, if somebody hired me tomorrow or down the street, I'd use it. But I'm not, pursuing a professional, career in it. So what does it hurt me to try to help folks? And I'm helping you, a young professional in the business, and I'm helping, pond owners directly. I'm proud to tell anybody who will listen if it'll help them.
Yeah, well, and I can tell you 100% confident that by being friends with you and doing these podcasts, I have never lost clients. So people that think that way, that's not true.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's going to hurt. And I think, well, we could be on a crest of a high and beautiful wave.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, because the truth matters. I'm still going to stand firm. We're not telling you stories. We're just telling the truth. So unless the truth doesn't matter, I think we might see a break. I never really thought I would see it, but I'm gaining confidence.
That's why I said pristine sometimes in Facebook posts get a little controversial, but that's probably me making them. But that's why I can't stand. If I survey a pond and I've seen that someone screwed over, it will bother me until I say something about it, just so I can hopefully save someone else from doing the same thing. Like a month ago, we surveyed like 3 ponds in a row, stocked by the same freaking fish farm, and they got gypped, man. They were supposed to have a trophy bass pond, and it was full of hybrid sunfish. So first thing we did, rattled off a post the next day. Hybrid sunfish are not going to grow trophy bass. Do not stock a trophy bass pond with hybrid sunfish. And they were so disappointed with what the results were from their pond. It was like heartbreaking to tell them, hey man, you kind of got screwed here with the stock. Well, for one, the stocking numbers were all terrible and all the fish went in at once. But it was to see the look on their face of like disappointment with the outcome that they got.
Yeah.
And then to see that it happened over and over and over again from the same company, I was like, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
That's not, it doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah, that's part of what I do this for too. I saw that a lot. And well, those guys hate me. Oh my gosh.
I tell you what, I found that out. I've made a lot of friends in a very short period of time. I tell you what. But to me, if that's the mindset, then I don't want to be your friend anyway. You know, if you're just screwing people for money, then no.
I'm not here to make friends. I didn't even think this would be
Yeah.
very popular. I really thought I would have like 100 dudes with ponds around the country just sitting around talking this crap. You know, I never anticipated, what is it, 20 on Instagram, 10 on YouTube, another
Yeah,
4
the Instagram
on.
is big. When I first met you, I think you were at like 14.
Well, and the thing about it is, I've kind of, due to time constraints, have gotten away from doing the 1 minute shorts. And that's a mistake. You got to fire those things in there. And if you want to grow your socials, you need to be doing those short videos. They get shared differently. And I'll get off my butt and I'll get back on it and we'll get it rolling again. It'll be fine. I've been busy. But
Yeah, that's the trend. It's the new thing people are doing. It's like the matching of TikTok kind of, which if TikTok gets banned, then the shorts are really going to be a big deal.
mm-hmm. And it's exactly, it's being shared differently to compete with TikTok. And
maybe you should have a TikTok.
I don't really want to do business with Chinese.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I just want to see you do dances on social media. I think I'd fall out of my chair if I saw you do a TikTok video like that.
Oh my God, no!
Like, Shane lost his mind.
Oh,
He's
I'll pass.
officially given up on the pond industry.
Yeah,
and he quit.
I'm going after my dancing career.
Social media broke him down. Too many arguments with people.
Yeah, I'm done. At 31 years in, I'm done. I just can't take it anymore.
No, I won't let you do that.
No, I'm not going to place unless I leave the earth. I'm here to stay. Like I said,
you're the only one doing that though, and that's why it's important. Because there's other people out there that talk about these things, but they don't have the platform. Like they haven't taken the time to grow the platform to share the information.
right?
They're just kind of hanging on the coattails of your content and making content off of that.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, that's all right though. And take it. You know, I knew that I've seen how many, like when you go on the internet and you start seeing YouTube, doesn't matter where, but you go on the internet and you hear a guy using your words verbatim.
Oh yeah. I've seen that in the Facebook forums.
Wait a minute. I go back and look at it's literally like they screenshot my shit
and say the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, well, at least they're getting the right information this time.
Yeah. No, there's a guy I know I talked to a lot. His name's Kelly Duffy. He's like a genius when it comes to aquatic herbicides. But he speaks in a very formal way, like a very scientific and formal way. So you can recognize like if someone is taking what he says and regurgitating it. Yeah. And it happens to him all the time. And he'll tell me about it. He's like, nothing drives me crazier than when people who have no idea what they're talking about try to say word for word what I'm talking about. But because everyone kind of talks and writes in their own way. So you can identify right away if someone copies what you say because everyone's a little unique in the way they phrase things. But yeah, it's interesting. But you're doing something right if people want to be like you, I guess.
What was that? Something about flattery, and I can't even remember now. I'm getting tired. I'm fading out on you. But we've been doing this for an hour and 48.
No, you're good. My laptop froze again, but I didn't want to refresh it.
That's cool. Well, I don't think any of the 5 people that are here are going to matter.
I have a newer one. This MacBook might be given out.
Yeah, I had to cough up $1,500 for this one, but it's been doing pretty good.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. It only started doing this, because we've done a few of these. It didn't do this until Alex's show on, what was that, 2 days ago? That's the first time I've had it freeze when doing streaming. Really? But it's got a little light at the top, like when the camera's on, and then all of a sudden that light will go off. And I guess I guess the camera just is going out or something. I don't know. Or if it's like a certain time limit. I don't know. I don't know what it's doing, but
I don't either.
I'll do it on a different laptop next time and see. Because I don't there's no way it's my Wi-Fi. It better not be. I pay enough for it.
Audio is perfect. There's no way it can be. It'd be
Yeah.
like that, if it was in that. But your
Yes.
audio is perfect. It's just the video. So
yeah, it must just be the actual computer then. But it's old. I mean, probably I got it in like 2019, so it's on its way out, I'm sure.
all right. I'm gonna close it out with this. Frank wants to talk about how Die Hard's not a Christmas movie. What do you think?
I don't know how it got lumped into Christmas movies to begin with. I mean, when I watched it, I didn't think, man, this is a good Christmas movie.
No, it was, but it happened at Christmas time.
I guess, but it's not like in my opinion, Christmas movies are about Christmas themselves. There's a lot
Right.
of shows and movies that have a portion of the movie that occurs during Christmas time, but we don't call them Christmas movies. But I think
Correct.
it just became like a meme to say that Die Hard was a Christmas movie.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting point, really, because I mean, it definitely has some Christmas theme. It has the Run DMC Christmas music that was so popular back then. That was a new thing. They did the Christmas. That was cool.
Well, that's
But
true. I guess there's Christmas parts,
yeah.
but the concept of the movie is not about Christmas. So to me, like all the cliche Christmas movies, Elf, The Grinch, all the ones we talked about on Alex's podcast, those are
Yeah.
about the holiday of Christmas. So I don't know. I don't know if Die Hard falls in that category.
My dad was listening to that and he said, nobody said Scrooge. And I was like,
yeah.
that was good, man. I forgot about that one. That was a
Dude,
good
there's
movie.
so many Christmas
With
movies.
Bill Murray, with the Bill Murray one,
Yeah.
That was good.
All the old Christmas movies are really the good ones.
Yeah.
You can just pick any of them that were made in like the 80s, 90s, and they're all good. Or early 2000s. Same with music, in my opinion. But
we're all about the fish management too, Josh. Thanks for following and participating as always, buddy. Appreciate you.
yeah, it's just sad. The fish management's just a small portion, like we talked about. You got to
Well,
be in the weed management business.
I'm hoping maybe, as this information gets out there, that'll change. And you'll get some more, everybody will get some more fisheries work because I think people just don't understand it's available.
Yeah, well, genuinely, people are unaware of pond management completely. I think a lot of people just think you just dig a pond, it fills up with water, you put fish in it, and they take care of it themselves. And if your fish didn't grow to be trophies, it's because you bought the wrong genetics. I genuinely think that's how most people think.
It is. No, it is. It's all screwed up. But I don't know, man. With all the engagement and I got Oliver and Alex and Andrew Hayes and God, Monster Bass Co. been everywhere. Mossy Oak. That's a lot of engagement, and those things don't go anywhere.
Yeah, they're gonna. And podcasts are only
this won't go anywhere. Everything we're doing, they don't go anywhere. So the more it cycles and circles around, and hopefully we'll have a positive impact for our bass fisheries in small waters.
Oh, I think it will, because a lot of the YouTube fishermen are starting to hop on and understand. Like, well, you just listed a bunch of them, but even there's some other YouTubers that are talking with different biologists and finally starting to get that information out there. So it's growing.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's good, and that's exactly what I want to see, man. I don't have to be the freaking poster boy for this crap. Anybody can do it. Any biologist, you can talk to any of us. Like, you can't learn lake management without understanding pond management. Like, you got to crawl before you walk, and that's what we're doing here. Anyways, I'm gonna wrap it right there, Garrett. It was
all right.
a pleasure as always. We didn't really do much pond management stuff, but again, we'll do a little experiment this week. See how this one hunts.
Yeah, we talked about some at the end, and next time I'll hop back on, I'll have a different laptop that hopefully doesn't freeze my face.
All right, sounds good.
Not that it matters, but anyway.
Yeah, it's all good, man. All right, I appreciate you, bro, and everybody watching. Appreciate you, and we're out of here. Take her easy.